Alright, how are you doing? So, quickly today I want to speak to you about waiting times, right? Um, so basically waiting time is like when you have to wait for a customer, as the name implies. Alright? So, now, there is a waiting time that happens online, like the Bolt app and the Uber app has, especially the Bolt app I would say, has a provision for waiting time. So, for instance, if a person adds like a stop before their final destination on a trip, as soon as you get to that point, you have to slide the button. Otherwise, if you don't slide it, then it's going to be a problem. Make sure you remember this, by the way. For instance, if a person were to be going to Sunnyvale and they don't put the exact street where they're going to, the moment you hit the gate of Sunnyvale, I would definitely advise you to make sure you slide that button of why can't I remember the name of the button? Anyway, I'll put it on the screen. So make sure you slide that button at the point where the map stops, or at least, or at most rather, a kilometer away from it. Anything more than that, you cannot change it, right? So the thing is, Bolt has a valuation for how much they charge a customer for every waiting moment or minute or things like that. You can literally see the money counting. However, as as you progress, you come to realize that, well, the best, you can't make the most out of it if you just use the Bolt system. Okay, and so that's what I'm here to tell you about. Whenever you go out with some customers, try to read them, try to understand the kind of people they are, and then decide if those are the kind of people you want to spend your time waiting for them. I'll give you an instance. I once picked up these two gentlemen who was from Afro Queen in Guarimpa, so they were heading for Tredmore in Lugbe. But then we had to stop over at Bakangizo Pharmacy in First Avenue. So I waited for them. Dude actually did take a lot of time, right? So at the end of the day, the trip was like 4,000, but then he gave me 6,000. You know, it was like, yeah, thank you for waiting. Now let me tell you this: had it been he had included back in Gizo as a stop, and then I actually had to slide the waiting button, and then I saw it read. No matter how much it read, for the amount of time he actually did spend, it would never have been 2,000 bucks extra. All right, so it's always better that you kind of like read your customer and then understand that, no, if you wait for this person, they're going to compensate you well for it. All right, don't be too hasty. Apparently it seems like a lot of people have very bad experience, a lot of customers have very bad experiences with Bolt drivers. So it's almost like they have to beg and plead whenever they're asking permission, to wait or to divert or something. And sometimes I'm like, they don't even realize that I want to wait for you. I remember this one customer, okay, I picked her up from Kubwa, we went to Dawaki, and from there we went to Guarimpa. And I didn't even wait for her that long, right? In Dawaki, she went there to check out a house. And then after that, we went to Guarimpa, and then I was like, you know what, I'll wait for you. She actually gave me 10,000 more. I'm not even joking. Like, her trip was like 5K at most. Do you understand? But she gave me 15K. This happened as recently as last week. Okay? So that's the kind of thing you like, read your customer, because there have been some other instances. For instance, there's this one dude, he carried this young man, and then they drove around town to different places and areas, and by the end of the trip, when he ended it, or rather when I ended it, was like 5,000, right? And then it was like, don't worry, just wait for me one more moment. I'll just do whatever. And I was like, what the fuck, man? I waited and waited, and dude never came back out. Up to today, I never still really got my money. because that boat refund thing is gone to hell. I don't know what is wrong with it anymore. So it's best to get your money from your customer. Otherwise, boat is not really going to do anything for you. So when you wait on customers, try and wait and be patient. Don't be too itchy and all that. One thing you should realize about waiting is that as you're rushing to get to the next customer, it might just be a very bad business. For instance, if I had just been in a haste to get to the next customer and all that, I probably would not be able to get the amount of money I got. I'm not saying this is always the case, but like I said, read your customers, right? Understand if they're the kind of people who understand that your time is valuable and they would definitely want to compensate you for it. Do you understand? Yeah? So that's what you should understand about waiting time. And just as a side note, okay? If a person books a ride to a particular place and then they decide that, oh yeah, I want you to take me somewhere else when we get there. Always, I've said this before, always make sure you don't just change the location on the app and continue on that trip. The only time when you should just continue on that trip is when the person had ordered you with a surge, a huge surge, by the way, not just 1.1 or something. Practical example. Just 2 days ago, I picked up a person on a surge of 1.5. Okay, now the trip originally was supposed to cost around 2.5 or 2.7, and then as we were getting there, the person was like, no, I just needed to pick something, I need you to take me back home. And now I realized that it was a surge, right? Instead of telling her, okay, we can just go offline, we can just, no need to change the location, remembering that it was a surge, I just asked her to change the location, because the surge price will still apply. But if she had to go offline from that point, there was no surge there, the price would be lesser. Now, for a trip that she was supposed to pay no more than 4,000, she paid me 6,700 because of the surge. It was online, right? That is what I'm trying to, like, you just have to be attentive to these things, okay? But ordinarily, when you know that there is no surge on the map, the pickup was not with any surge, of the trip in the very initial stage did not have any surge, always make sure you ask for the person to rebook. So the reason for this is, for whenever time the person rebooks, right, there is always a base fare of 700 that is always added to every new trip. Whenever you just continue on the trip, that base fare is never added. Okay, just the distance of the kilometers and the time taken is calculated. But whenever you start a new trip or you check a new trip without starting, let's say you were going offline, right, the 700 is always added to it. Then the distance and the time is calculated, and then the fare is given to you. So that's what you should take away from this. And then, okay, so the other thing I wanted to talk about just before we conclude this video is that I just noticed a lot of boat drivers are angry. I don't know what universe people. They're just angry. I met one dude the other day. It was just 2 days ago. He was just complaining and ranting that he just came out from the house now. That this one just booked him. He went there. The woman said, "Oh, sorry, she's not going on." That he was even asking her, like, even 1,000 she couldn't even drop. That he can't even, it's not like he's even getting anything in this business. That I was stressed for him, because I was, leave the damn thing already. See, the thing, you have a negative attitude about something, you only see the negativity. It's like it basically magnifies before your eyes. Okay, you never see what's the point of the business. Why don't you just focus and make your income and rest? What more can you ask for? By God, I don't even understand what it is people are crying about. Granted, all right, I'm not going to act ignorant about this. The people who actually rent the cars or who are on hire purchase, who have to give back money to the car owners and things like that. I understand that this can be really difficult for you. No doubt, no doubt. All right. But I think I've seen some other ones who cheerfully, gleefully do these things and they don't even feel half as bad. They feel like, no, this is this is good compared to what I was doing before. Right? Just have a good mental attitude. And that mental attitude has a lot to do with your rest. It seems like I can't stress that well enough. I used to be in that cocoon, that place, and I know for a fact that the more I rested and then I came out with a very high spirit and everything, right? I tend to feel good about the job more than the days where I'm extremely exhausted. Exhausted, like, man, I don't tap out. But I'm still forcing myself to go because I need extra money. I always need. Don't do that to yourself. Have a very good plan. Have a good budgeting, all right? And work around these things well, all right? You can't get all the money in the world. It's your selfishness is messing with your mind. And don't. This one is not part of the business thing, sure, but don't overdo things, please. Eh? Marry when you have the capacity to marry. Marry when you're sure that you can handle both yourself and the woman, and also kids. For God's sake, take it easy on yourself. If a person were to be single doing this job, as compared to a person who is married with kids and responsibilities, you can imagine how difficult it is. You need to get to a certain level and then do other things like get married and get other people to become a liability in your life. I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, marriage is not necessarily a liability, but man, who am I kidding? In truth, it is, because children are expensive. Bro, a child is not an asset, all right? A child is a liability. Everything about that kid up until they get a job and start doing their thing is an expenditure, it's a liability on you. You probably feel joyful to see somebody who looks like you. That's great. But this is not about both. Sorry. But I'm just saying, okay, just take it easy on yourself. One thing at a time. By the time you've gathered enough to branch out and do this and perhaps pour it into what it is you've always been passionate about doing and grow it to a certain extent, and then you can settle them and you can have kids, all right? Yeah.